All right, now we're diving into chapter 3 of unit 3, which is all about savings accounts. So we're going to learn the basic vocabulary of savings accounts, and then we're also going to compute simple interest using our simple interest formula. So let's go ahead and get started. Example 1 says Grace wants to deposit $5,000 into a certificate of deposit for 2 years. She's comparing interest rates quoted by 3 local banks and 1 online. Write the interest rates in ascending order. Which bank pays the highest interest for this 2-year CD? Now, ascending order. I want you to think of like an airplane. When an airplane is on the ground and it is taking off, it's ascending. So it's going from the lowest value to the highest value. So we're going to go ahead and start with that lowest value, and then we're going to build up. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of use that ascending idea, and we're going to write it in that fashion. But if you look at the different banks, we've got 4 banks here. Some of them are listed as decimals, some of them as fractions. We've got to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So what we're going to do is get all of these into a percentage or into a decimal form. So a fraction of 1/4 is 1 divided by 4, which actually equals 4 1/4. If you think about it, if there's 4 quarters in $1 and you have 1/4, you have 25 cents, so it's 0.25. Johnson City Trust is already in decimal form, so we're good there. The other one here we have to look at is eSave Bank, which is at 4 3/8. So it's going to be 3 divided by 8, which is 0.375. So eSave Bank is paying a rate of 4.375. And then Land Savings Bank is paying 4.3. It's already in decimal form. So if we go in ascending order, the first one is going to be Johnson City Trust at 4.22, because 422 is lower than First State Bank, which is at 4.25. So we know in ascending order, it starts with Johnson, then we go to First State Bank, that's the second one in ascending order. Now, if we look over at Land Savings and eSave Bank, both of them start with 4.3, but eSave Bank actually also has the 7.5 after it, which makes it higher. So Land Save Bank at 4.3 is next, and finally eSave Bank at 4.375. So in third, and then the last listed is eSave Bank. Go ahead and press pause and complete this. When you're ready, come back and we'll put these into order. All right, so how did you do? Looking at this, again, we've got to compare apples to apples, so let's get these fractions in a form of a decimal. 5 1/2 is 5.5, and 5 5/8 is actually 5.625. This one wants it in descending order, so when you think of it, when you are landing, you descend, you're going down. So it wants the highest value first and then the lowest. So we're going to start with the 5.625, or the 5 5/8. Next we have 5.6. We have 5.51, 5.5, and finally 5.099. How'd you do? Example 2, it says Raul's savings account must have at least $500 in it, or he's charged $4. His balance was $716.23, and he withdrew $225. What is his balance? Well, we're going to go ahead and start with, he had the $716.23, and he subtracted or took out $225. So when we subtract that, we get $491.23. It says here that he went under the $500, so we're going to have to assess a $4 charge, so we're going to subtract that, and his balance is now $487.23. All right, May has $891 in her account. $7 fee is charged each month that it's below $750. She withdraws $315, and no deposits or no withdrawals for the next 8x months. Express her balance algebraically. Go ahead and press pause. When you're ready, press play, and I'll finish this out. Okay, so we know that she had $891 in her account, and she subtracted $315, which left her a total balance of $576. We don't know how many months we were under, but we know that every month that she is under, that she's charged a $7 fee. So her $576 is subtracted by $7 times each month that she is below. And there's your algebraic expression. All right, example 3, it says Mitchell deposits $1,200 into an account at 4.5% simple interest. He keeps it in the account for 3 years without any deposits or withdrawals. How much is in the account after the 3 years? Well, in order to complete this, we first have to look at my simple interest formula. And what it looks like is this. I equals P times R times T. So let's break that down. I is your interest earned. P is the principal or original balance. R is the rate, but it's not just the rate, it's the rate as a decimal. And finally, we have T, which is time, but not just any time, it's time in years. So what I would like for you to do, each of these examples that we're coming through here next, on the left-hand side of your paper, I want you to write I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. I want you to start everything out like that. Because then what we're going to do is identify the values we have to solve for what we don't have. So it says here that Mitchell deposits $1,200 in the account. That to me sounds like a principal or original balance. So it's $1,200. It pays 4.5% simple interest, and that shows it as a percent. We need to show it as a decimal, so we're going to move it over twice, and the rate is 0.045. Finally, the time in years, it was 3 years, so I have 3 years. Now it's just a matter of plugging it in, grabbing my calculator, and solving. So interest equals P, which is 1,200, times R, which is 0.045, times T, which is 3. When I multiply those 3 together, I get $162. Now the question is not asking how much interest was earned, but rather how much is in the account. So we need to take that 162 and we're going to add it to the original principal balance, and we find that in the account is $1,362 after the 3 years. Please complete this you do. Press pause now. When you're ready, press start and we'll go again. All right, it says how much simple interest. So right away, I'm going to do my I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. Hopefully you did the same. It says how much simple interest is earned. If it's $4,000 put into an account, so there's my principal, 3.5 years, so I'm going to write that as a decimal at 3.5 at an interest rate of 5.2. Remembering I need to move the decimal over, I should have gotten 0.052. Plugging that into my value, interest equals 4,000 times 0.052 times 3.5 in years. And when I multiply all that out, I get $756 Now notice this question, how much interest is earned? Not what is the account balance. So I don't add that back in. My answer is simply $728. The next question, look at that. I've already got I equals PRT up there. It says, how much simple interest does $2,000 earn in 7 months? So that's a little different. We've done it in times of years. So in order to do this, we're going to do 7 divided by 12 when we plug that in. And that actually is 0.583 repeating as a decimal. And it says at a rate of 5%. So moving the decimal, it's 0.02. Interest. So hopefully you're starting to see a pattern. We're identifying, plugging in, and solving. So when I plug those values into the calculator, I end up with $58.33. Again, the question is how much simple interest? So I'm done. All right, for this next one, we've got how much simple interest would $800 earn in 300 days on a non-leap year? So before I divided it by 12 because it was talking about months, now it's talking in terms of days. So it's 300 divided by, well, I know that there's 365 days in a non-leap year. It has an interest rate of 0.0571. So again, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Interest equals 800 times 0.0571 times 300 divided by 365. And I'll need to make sure I put that in parentheses when I'm plugging it into the calculator. Otherwise, PEMDAS will do its thing and it will not do it in the order in which this is intended. And we find here that the simple interest earned was $37.55. All right, moving on to our next example. We have example 5, how much principal? So this is the first question that we had that looks a little different. Before it was how much interest or what was the account balance. But now it says how much principal. So that leads me to believe that the principal is my unknown. That's my question mark. It says must be deposited to earn $1,000 simple interest. So that's going to go in my interest category. In 2 years, well, that's my time in years, at a rate of 5%. So as a decimal, it's going to be 0.05. I'm going to plug this in, and remember it's still I equals PRT. So plugging it in, interest is 1,000. Principal, we don't know. Rate is 0.05, and time is 2. Multiplying that out, I get that 0.1p equals 1,000. And I'll divide both sides by 0.1, which simply moves the decimal over 1 to the right, and principal equals $10,000. So it's going to take $10,000 at 5% for 2 years to earn $1,000 in interest. Okay, go ahead and press pause, and when you return, we will go ahead and finish this question.